Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad.
Bonjour, everyone, and welcome to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How are we all doing? And by the way, how is your Labor Day weekend going? Because let me tell you, it's been very crazy for me. And so far, as you could tell, it is not ending because I now have to do this podcast. But this episode in particular is going to be a little bit different because I actually do have a guest. And honestly, it's actually a very unexpected guest. I don't know why this individual wants to go and actually ask me to go and be a guest for the podcast. So believe it or not, I got Elmo on board. Elmo, are you there?
Hello, this is Elmo.
Are you all right, Elmo?
Elmo's not okay. Elmo's tired.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's because if it's the connection or something, but there's something about you, Elmo, that sounds stupider. Am I getting that right?
Elmo doesn't like that response. No.
Well, that's Elmo's problem, not mine. Nah, but for real though, I got my buddy Devon who is back for today's episode. Devon, how you doing?
Doing good. I really was having fun just messing with people.
By the way, someone wrote in the chat wall that Elmo owes you $50. Or Elmo owes him $50.
Oh my god. Okay, if Elmo is getting $50, I'm gonna be like, well, for what?
Nah, Elmo needs to pay someone $50.
I'll be like, I don't go for puppets, man. Don't start with me on that. That's the only connection I came up with.
Of course. How's your weekend? How's your Labor Day weekend going?
Actually, it was nice. I went to a local county fair over the weekend, and it was right by my dad's house, so we decided to go. We had fun. I got to watch this cool pig show. It literally was this performer who had a bunch of different pigs, different breeds of pigs, and they can perform on stage, like do tricks and go on like ladders and stuff like that. And apparently, from what I understand, this group of pigs was on America's Got Talent.
Really?
Which is, yes, they were actually recently on America's Got Talent. I didn't know that, but yeah, he was there. He performed. It was like a 20-30 minute show, and one of them was where a little girl went in and performed Old MacDonald, and the pig did the oink noises. It was great.
Well then. Yeah.
That was fun.
Anything else?
And another top highlight is I got to go on a helicopter ride. I had to pay like $30 to go on a couple-minute ride, but it was so worth it. I was able to record it with my hair in my face. I actually got a pretty good video. I was able to record the whole area and including my dad's house, which is cool. So that was a lot of fun. That was the big highlights of my weekend.
Nah, awesome. By the way, just want to mention special thanks to Gorillas Fan 1992 for the subscription. That's very nice. But oh my god, I've had a pretty intense and crazy Labor Day weekend, more so than usual. Like, it started out on Friday night that I had to go to a family dinner. Then immediately afterwards on Saturday morning, I had to drive for an hour to go to my grandfather's funeral where we have to see him being buried, which then afterwards, the rest of the day was spent, the whole family back at my place just to go and celebrate and just to have a little family party. Then after that, the day afterwards, which technically is yesterday, I had my friends over where we got stupidly drunk and had a Labor Day party. Like, no joke. We actually had 24 cans of poppers and we went through an entire bottle of coconut rum. So, like, there is still a part of me that is recovering a little bit. Like, I am fine. Like, I did take my water and stuff like that, but, you know, there is a bit of that aftermath. And now there is today, which I am doing a podcast episode with you. So yeah, I would say my Labor Day weekend this year is pretty hectic.
Oh yeah. And I'm like, well, I mean, seriously, in between me having to go to the county fair, well, I also had to work, so I'm like, okay, well, that kind of bit in the butt, but whatever. I had to work on Sunday, but that's all right.
Yeah,
So.
fair enough. But hey, at least now we know we can cap this off, cap the whole weekend off with this podcast. So, Devon, are you ready for today's episode?
Yep.
All right. Now, Chadwell, by the way, I just want to say thank you all so much for for paying your respects to my grandfather. Just to let you know, he actually passed away exactly last year. So, we're pretty much all at the point where we have accepted and, we are at peace and we have our happy memories with him and we have moved on. But just want to mention to you all, thank you so much for the well wishes and for your respects. But anyways, Chadwell, are you all ready for today's episode? Let's see. Okay, yeah. Oh, crap. Already. A lot of people are all prepared. One person is freaking out about Devon's Elvis poster or Elvis calendar behind you. Yeah, there you go. Yep. I think we're all prepared. So with that said, it is now time that we shall go and get things started. And with our first story that we have today, it's funny, Devon, that you actually made a comeback for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast because that is a little bit of the theme for this week, is actually regarding comebacks. And we have seen several comebacks so far, so not just your comeback to this podcast, but also regarding a very certain character. One that, by this point, everyone knows that I am well familiar with this one. You know which one I'm talking about, right?
Yes, I do.
Oh, yeah. So, unfortunately, folks, you thought that at the beginning of the year that he would be gone, but nope. He is back, and he's in 3D. And I'm talking, of course, about none other than Caillou. Yes. I am not lying, folks. Caillou is officially gonna be coming back. Not fully, but he will be returning. And yes, he'll be returning in 3D with computer animation. So just to give you the full context about what is going on, WildBrain, the studio that would bring us like a whole bunch of these preschool shows and family content such as Caillou, Arthur, Teletubbies, and many, many more, they have revealed their upcoming lineup that is specifically geared towards preschoolers. And the range of when they are going to be released, it would be like some of them would be released pretty soon, like coming this October. And there's a lot of stuff that they've also revealed that is going to be coming out in 2022. And what they have revealed specifically, some of them are more original new content that they have coming up. And there are others as well that they are based on popular shows on YouTube. So for example, some of the things that they have announced, like their animated content, they have revealed that Lucas the Spider is going to be coming soon this fall. There's also going to be Dennis and Me that's coming this fall as well. They also got another animated show called Summer Memories. And in their live action programming, they got Ruby and the Well, Take Note, Holly Hobby, Mallory Towers, and The Fabulous Show with Faye and Fluffy. But the biggest and most significant one that they have included, and the one that they have announced, is regarding new Caillou specials. Yes, there's not just going to be one, but there is going to be a grand total of 5 45-minute computer animated Caillou specials that are going to be coming out starting in the summer of 2022 on Family Junior. But you might be wondering, though, what is this going to be about? What are the specials going to be looking into? What is Caillou going to do for 45 minutes straight in each of these specials? Well, reading from my source here on Yahoo Finance, it states here, adored by preschool kids 2 to 5, Caillou chronicles the daily life of an imaginative and curious 4-year-old boy who, like most preschoolers, is learning and growing a little more each day and doesn't usually get things right on the first try, despite his best efforts. Thankfully, he is supported and encouraged by his parents, friends, and neighbors to never give up and keep pursuing his goals until he succeeds. Together, these supporting characters in Caillou's life serve as a calm and comforting presence, a gentle guiding hand leading him to new understandings and discoveries. The stories chosen for these standalone specials are to be enjoyed as family-friendly events throughout the year: Christmas, Halloween, Family Day, summer vacation, and even tackling the important topic of bullying for National Anti-Bullying Day. And like I said before, it's not going to be coming out this year, but I'm saying that they are starting by the summer of 2022 because I can imagine that for a lot of these, they will be released in their respective holidays. So, Devon, Caillou is back. How do you feel about it?
Why? Like, okay, as a kid, I will not deny I watched Caillou, and I used to get that theme song stuck in my head all the time, and it annoyed the crap out of me. Loved the theme song, hated the show. But it was so funny. Like, growing up, I grew up with Caillou, and I watched PBS Kids a lot. It was not my favorite. There was way better shows on there. And hearing that this show has lasted for like more than 20 years, I'm like, first of all, how much were the parents drinking during this time where they're like, look at these kids at the TV, we don't need that. So I'm going to be like, okay, these 45-minute specials are going to be, Caillou's going to scare the shit out of children, which he's been doing for 20 plus years. I mean, Christmas, can we send them off to some foreign country? That's their parents' gift to somebody. Forget that. I could come up with better stories, and I just don't get it.
Yeah, and I mean, my history with Caillou now has been pretty much public. In fact, now it's starting to become something that I am very well known for. Like, I will admit, just like you, I was actually one of those kids that did grow up watching some episodes of Caillou, but considering that I'm from Canada and that's where the Caillou cartoons originated, like, I did watch some of the like first episodes. I don't think of course I didn't watch all the episodes literally, but I like probably the first couple of seasons and that's it. I don't even remember the episodes where you had Caillou's cat Gilbert and a couple of his toys that were puppets. Like, I don't even remember those parts. I grew out of those when I like during my time as a kid. Do you watch those? Do you remember those?
Yes, and here's the weird thing. Growing up, like most of my friends were into, like, by the time they were like 13, 14, everybody was watching MTV, watching like the music videos and the stupid reality game shows or the reality shows on there. I hated it. I could not stand it. Guess what I was watching? PBS Kids till I was like 15. I just could not watch any of those shows that were on there. Like when the Kardashians were big, I was like, fuck them. I'm not watching this. I just couldn't do it. And my one friend was obsessed with like the Step Brother show. I think it was called Step Brother. I can't remember the exact name right now. Everybody was obsessed with something on MTV, and I'm just like, no.
Was it Jersey Shore? Because I remember when that was huge.
Jersey Shore, yes, that too. Jersey Shore. Oh my god.
Yeah.
No. I watched 5 minutes of that shit and I was ready to throw my TV out the window. Fuck this, no.
Wow. No, but the funny thing though is that well, at least on my end, one thing that honestly I did not expect is like when I made my video about Caillou, like why everybody hated Caillou, that turned out to be one of my biggest phenomenons. Even now, like nowadays, like I don't know if you actually checked, Devon, but believe it or not, that Caillou video that I did at the beginning of the year, now it's my second most watched video ever made, and the only one behind it is the first part of the top 10 scariest Disney moments. I think right now it's like
I remember that.
750,000 views, or getting close to 800,000 views right now. It would honestly not surprise me if eventually it will surpass 1 million views. So honestly, that is actually pretty exciting. So I have done my research on like the history of Caillou and why did the show get created and all that kind of stuff. And honestly, seeing this news about Caillou coming back is something that I am both surprised and not surprised at the same time. Or I think a better terminology would be that I'm surprised when I shouldn't be. Because the thing is, the reason why I was initially surprised was mainly because of the fact that you probably remember at the start of the year when PBS Kids announced that they would no longer air any more Caillou episodes, that they were pretty much done and they would go and move on. And everybody on the internet was celebrating it. Like it was like a moment. It was like one of those rare moments of unity where everybody got together to cheer for Caillou officially being over and no longer being on television. Now, granted, technically Caillou was still on TV and other channels around the world, but technically its main channel, like the biggest platform that Caillou was on, pretty much decided to no longer show Caillou, and that's what made everybody celebrate it, and that's what made everybody believe that Caillou was no longer on TV. Like now, like we can close that chapter on Caillou, it's over, now we can finally move on to more tasteful TV programming. But then suddenly, they announced this, that WildBrain decided that they would go and make more Caillou specials, and it looks like he's not dead. And that's where the part that when I do think about it, yeah, I honestly should not be surprised about that. And the reason why I say this is because technically WildBrain is one of, if not the biggest franchise or the most popular franchise that they do have. It's still highly marketable. And a lot of kids, of course, they are definitely buying into it. So, of course, if they want to go and keep the cash flow going with Caillou, then if it's still very marketable, if the videos on YouTube are still highly popular, then why stop there? Why not continue to make that money flow and keep making more Caillou content? Now, one thing I will say that I am a little bit thankful is the fact that technically it's not a full-on Caillou reboot per se, but rather this is just like him coming back as specials. They're not making a brand new series where they're making more consecutive episodes. They're just making they're just making specials. They're just making special programming that would be on TV, and they would be just that, nothing more. And they they got 5 of them. But still, I guess you could say in anime terms that WildBrain is bringing out Caillou OVAs. Because that's what they basically are, Caillou original video animations. But yeah, were you surprised to hear that Caillou is coming back?
Sort of, yes and no. It's give or take on, I guess the way I think of it, it's sort of like SpongeBob in a sense. SpongeBob's been running for almost more than 20 years as well. And they're not willing to let go a cash cow, something that's been generating money for many, many years. But then when PBS Kids decided to say, I'm all done with this, I guess the other corporation decided, you know what, let's take that money. Let's make more money off of this. This is still technically a money maker cash cow. So what the heck? It makes me think of that. It's like one person decided to get rid of it, the other person's going to take full advantage of it. So, and that's what I think of, honestly. And I'm like, whatever. I'm not going to watch them. Let's see how well they do. I don't know. but we'll just see what happens. I'm just kind of like, Caillou is way past my prime now. It's kind of like with SpongeBob. I haven't actively watched SpongeBob in years. Now they have all these new spin-off shows, and I'm just like, I could care less. I'm not gonna go actively watch like the Camp Coral or the Patrick show that they're doing. I'm like, what? Whatever. That's not for me. I'm not watching it. So I think Caillou's gonna be the same way. It's not for me. It's past my prime. I don't care.
You know, a crazy question, and maybe the answer is like stupidly obvious, but
Okay.
considering that you do work as a, you technically work as a teacher, and you work with kids with special needs.
Yeah.
Do they have they watched Caillou? Do they watch Caillou?
Well, depends on what you mean by the special needs. What type? I worked as a teacher's assistant. First and foremost, correction there. Second, I worked with autistic support for about 3 years, and most of the time these kids are kind of like at that same level preschool. So no, they did not watch Caillou because probably my teacher never showed it, but most of the kids there were obsessed with like Paw Patrol and some of the other Nick Jr. shows. Like there was one kid I worked with who was obsessed with Paw Patrol. Played the same part over and over again. I was like getting sick of Paw Patrol for a while. But it just depended. But the kids I'm with now, no. They would not watch Caillou. They're 7th and 8th grade. These are emotional kids that are into what 7th and 8th graders are typically into. Like Naruto and Dragon Ball Z and Fortnite and and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not working with specifically lower level kids anymore, but it is very different going from one area to another just to see what they're kind of into. So it's fascinating, and I'm like, no, Caillou was never brought up, and I'm all right with that. So,
All right, fair enough. And it is true, like nowadays we are pretty much at the point where there's like so much better content for children for them to go and watch, especially like when the whole industry is basically dominated by Paw Patrol. Like and the only one that could even be at the point of reaching up that level would honestly be Baby Shark.
Oh, Baby Shark.
Well, I mean, it ain't a joke, actually. Like,
That's
even the show itself, like, it's in the popularity range of like Paw Patrol. Actually, it's the number 2. Like, the series is actually the number 2 preschool show from what I heard last time.
That's hilarious. I'm sorry, but I remember I actually have a coworker from Burger King whose kids are obsessed with Baby Shark. So she's like, shut up about Baby Shark. I just thought it was pretty funny. I'm like, yeah, I understand. If you hear it too much, it's just annoying.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, but you know, one thing I will say, like, if I can go on a more positive note, like, if there is like a ray of hope for this Caillou series, one thing that I can imagine that they could go and fix up, or at least address, is do something about the discipline of Caillou, because that's like one of if not the biggest reason why people hate Caillou so much, is the fact that he acts so much like a massive brat but always gets away with it. And that's one thing that I am curious, like, WildBrain must know by this point. They must be fully aware of the hate and the backlash that is going on against Caillou, especially from parents or from people who grew up with Caillou regarding all these issues. And from there is why, like, a lot, like, even though Caillou is still heavily consumed, there's still a lot of parents out there who wouldn't want to let their kids consume Caillou. So one thing I'm curious regarding these new like regarding these new these new specials. One thing that I am curious about, are they going to go and legitimately address the discipline issue of Caillou, especially when you consider one of them is technically going to be addressing bullying and is going to be themed to National Anti-Bullying Day.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, it's interesting because like it's kind of like making another adaptation or just another version, and for some people they may either watch it just for the sake of watching something different from somebody else, and I don't know. I think it's always you can always be open to the idea for sure. So I could see that happening. I could see people going to watch it just for the curiosity's sake, morbid curiosity, I may say. I don't know. Well, let's hope for the best, but that's more me. I'm just kind of like, It's this open skeptic on this one, and maybe that's just because I grew up with the show and I know how stupid it was.
Yeah, fair enough. And I mean, like, that's only what my one sign of optimism for it, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to be one of those people that will be curious to see what it's all about or to check it. I'm not in any rush to go and check any of those Caillou specials. I'm perfectly fine with just skipping over it, enjoy my life, and just move on. So just want to go and just want to go and make that statement right now. That, and also, like, I am 28 years old. Soon I'm going to be 29. What the fridge am I going to be doing watching Caillou in my own leisure? That, especially when I don't have any kids.
I'll just be like, I have nieces and nephews that can watch it, and if they watch it, I'll watch it with them. But otherwise, no. I'll pass.
Yeah, pretty much. So, with that said, now I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about the new Caillou specials that are going to be coming out next year? Are you guys more optimistic than we are regarding the specials? Are you guys going to be planning on watching it? Are you guys going to be skipping it altogether? Let me know what you all think on this. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Oh man, I can't believe this is real. Why does Cartoon Network think this is a good idea? Heck, I don't know if guys know, but they are even going to air the banned Big Brother Caillou episode on the first day of Cartoonito. Oh boy, oh that episode. We thought the brat was gone, but oh well, let's do everything we can to stop him from teaching bad morals to kids. Caillou was so grounded for 1 million years. Yeah, and it's not, and keep in mind, this is not Cartoon Network. This is WildBrain. It's the studio behind it. Cartoon Network has nothing to do with this. So just want to go and put that out. Oh God, I'm sure like a lot of people are right now. They're just writing like that Caillou meme of Caillou is grounded. Oh God. Like I even see like people even writing like the Go anime terms, like whenever they're angry, it's like those awkward text speeches is like, oh, how dare you come back from the dead? That's it. You are grounded for 1 billion. Could you? Yeah. Oh boy.
I think the closest thing I would ever say would be my reaction would be, you know, when Caillou was like pounding on the floor crying.
Yeah.
That would probably be me. I'd be like, what the heck? Like, I'm doing that. Out of my hands on the floor.
Why is this on my TV?
Be like, nope.
Let's see. I was never a Caillou fan, so this news, that's gonna be a yikes for me, dog. I can understand people fathoming 5 minutes of Caillou, but 45? I'm pretty sure even the most tolerant person would say that's too much. Hell, maybe that bullying special will be the day where Caillou finally gets to eat Rosie, if you get what I'm referencing. You win an M&M cookie I found in my couch last night. Just pick off the green fluff. That's what I do. Oh my god.
Good one, actually.
Oh god, that infamous episode, man. Like that's one of those moments. I think we could safely say the book is better.
I couldn't even believe it was based off of a book.
And the book went more savage. Caillou just did not hesitate, like just sunk his teeth onto Rosie.
I don't know what scares me more, the fact that this show was like more than 20 years old, or the fact that the book author was like, you know what, let's just have this kid try to eat his sister. You know? And I thought us Americans were crazy.
I honestly, I kind of have this funny idea for a drawing, and eventually I want to do this. Basically, what I want to do is, okay, do you know that painting where you got like this big old man that's eating a person, like I think it's like Neptune eating his son or something like that. Do you know that painting?
No, I don't, but I'm just well, if it's Greek mythology, I'm like, I don't know, might be a little scared.
I don't know, like, I kind of have this, well, either way, I kind of have this idea to recreate that painting, but with Caillou.
I might have to look it up later, actually. I don't know, I'm picturing, like, something completely different in my head, and I don't know if what? No, I'm good.
All right, let's see now. Well, let me be the first to say we are all gonna die. Caillou's back. We're doomed. The apocalypse is nigh. The fact that Caillou is getting not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 freaking specials is honestly pretty horrifying. I will never understand why such corporate dunderheads decide to bring back Satan onto the land only to force him to wreak more terror, because that terror is profitable. All we need now is a YouTube crossover where they all work together to stop Caillou. Now, that would be worth the price of admission. A YouTube crossover. Like, oh god, the hidden channel awesome crossover movie.
Wow, so is it like the channel awesome crossover movie where they beat up Caillou? Because I'll watch the hell out of that.
It could be.
Thing, I would watch that.
The big the nostalgia critic creates a big convoluted plot where it just all ends with them beating up Caillou.
To be fair, that sounds like something Doug would have done. That's
the sad thing. It's so would. He would somehow find a way to do that today.
Yep, it's gonna be like Tamara and Malcolm are gonna go beat him up, and it's like, here, master, this is for you.
Well, I mean, technically, I just realized it's not far off to what he did. I remember like seeing clips of it. He did that technically with the Mary Poppins Return review, where like he did it with the new version. I remember it got viral because of how dumb it is, but mainly because of the fact that like, yeah, it's like old Disney characters going after the new Mary Poppins, and it's not just the old Mary Poppins coming back, but then he was like, Maleficent, genie, and then you see Simba, Lion King, and then you just see everybody just writing down Lion King is my favorite Disney character.
You know what I would love to see? I would love to see a crossover where they're gonna have a brawl. It's gonna be like Barney, Caillou, and Elmo, and multiple people.
Yo, that game would sell like hotcakes. Like, get all preschool characters and just have them in a massive brawl.
That's why I would be rated R.
Rated R.
Like one of those games. It's like it's a PBS Kids brawl. They'll turn it into a top seller.
If that's the case, then you gotta have boss characters, and one of them must be Super Grover.
Okay, I'd play that game.
Yeah. All right, I'll read 2 more comments before we move on to the next story. Caillou may have been defeated, but like any Saturday morning cartoon villain, they come back. I honestly don't know why they decided to bring back Caillou, but I guess it's because it's very popular, regardless if the cartoon itself is hated. Like the old saying goes, any publicity is good publicity. I'm certain they will fix Caillou's attitude problem, otherwise, who knows what war crimes he will commit next. Oh yeah. Oh my god, you know what would be an insane episode? Imagine an episode where like his parents got a new computer and it's gonna be called Caillou Goes to the Internet.
Oh my god, that would be, because have you seen those videos where like parents give these kids the brand new like iPhone or iPad or all that jazz?
Oh yeah.
Type of videos.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Selfish these kids act.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it would be like one of those.
Thinking up right there. It's like, this is not brand new. Fucking morons.
Or oh my god, I can imagine like Caillou is just on his computer and just all walking around all happy. I made some new friends. Yeah, well, I have to go and visit them on Kiwi Farm. You know about Kiwi Farm, do you?
I'm gonna say no, and I don't want to.
It's a hellhole, basically. It's an absolute hellhole. All right, let's see. One more comment before we go. I have no reaction to these new shows, but they are. I have no interest. Because I am a grown-up man, but my reaction to the upcoming CG cartoon specials is, oh geez, here we go again. I used to love watching Caillou as a kid, but as I see him now, that's where my doubts came in. Caillou was a stubborn little kid, and if I ever have kids, I would let them avoid this show because of the way he acts. And my question is, what is Family Junior and 45 Minutes Why? Family Junior, I'm just gonna say right now, for those of you who don't know, by the way, thank you Yummy119 for the subscription. But if you don't know, Family Junior is actually a part of the Family Channel, which is actually a more Canadian-oriented family channel. It used to be the Canadian version of Disney Channel, because a lot of Disney Channel shows would go on Family because we don't have Disney Channel here. But it's more of a Canadian thing. I'm sure eventually the US will have it. So
Possible.
Yeah. All right. So now with that done, it is time that we go and move on to our next story. And with the next story, we're going to be jumping from a whole bunch of preschool shows and a whole bunch of Caillou specials to a brand new block that's going to be coming soon. And this block is actually very interesting, don't you think, Devon?
Yes.
All right, so with that said, let's go and jump onto our next story, which will be looking into ACME Night. Yes, Cartoon Network has officially announced that they are going to be launching a brand new Sunday block, which is going to be called ACME Night. And ACME Night, for those of you who don't know, what it is that it's specifically going to be focusing on families, for all of them to get together, put on Cartoon Network, and they would watch some special programming that is based on a popular IP on Warner Brothers library that they could just go and watch, regardless if it would be a TV show, a special, a movie, or whatever. They will all be appearing on ACME Night. It's just with this one, it will be specially catered to showing a lot of Warner Brothers family programming and even a bit more, like from outside the studio that would go and put their content in there. Like, for example, some of the movies that they are going to be showing in ACME Night include Man of Steel, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Sherlock Gnomes, Detective Pikachu, and Scoob. And the first thing that they are going to be showing is actually going to be Shazam, the 2019 DC movie. And on top of that, like I mentioned before, but they're also going to be showing a lot of special programmings based on popular Warner Brothers IPs. So the list here that they have, that's already been known, that they've already announced it, but the shows that will be making their premieres, or shows, movies, or whatever, they will be the ones that will be appearing on ACME Night include Aquaman, King of Atlantis, Batman, Cape Crusader, Gremlins, Secrets of the Mogwai, Harry Potter Wizarding World Competition Event Series, which, by the way, that one is a special limited series that is in honor of the 20th anniversary of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. That's going to be an all Harry Potter quiz show. And of course, we got Gendy Tartakovsky's Unicorn Warriors Eternal. But on top of that, along with the announcement of ACME Night, they have also announced some brand new specials and brand new made-for-TV movies that are going to be coming soon on the block as well. These include, the first one they have announced is Merry Little Batman, which for the description, I'll read from my source here on Animation Magazine, as it states, an animated family action comedy destined to join the rogues gallery of classic holiday movies. When a 6-year-old Damian Wayne finds himself alone in Wayne Manor, he must transform into Little Batman in order to defend his home and Gotham City from the crooks and supervillains intent on destroying Christmas. So basically, Merry Little Batman is what happens if you mix Batman with Home Alone. Next up, what we got here is Did I Do That to the Holidays? A Steve Urkel story. From executive producer Wyatt Cenac, Did I Do That to the Holidays? A Steve Urkel story brings back one of the most iconic sitcom characters of all time for an animated movie musical event. The holiday season has arrived, and brilliant but accident-prone Steve Urkel has already ruined his local celebration by publicly humiliating a shopping mall Santa. In his attempt to make things right and store some nice points with the big guy in the North Pole, Steve creates an invention that only makes things worse. Using his big brain and even bigger heart, Steve must find the real Santa to see if together they can help the city rediscover the holiday spirit. Jaleel White serves as producer and will also reprise his iconic performance by voicing the beloved super genius. And finally, the last big project that they have announced is going to be a Looney Tunes cartoon movie. There's no title on it of it yet, but it's actually going to be a feature film based on the recent Looney Tunes cartoons on HBO Max. And it says here, Planet Earth faces the threat of an alien invasion, and humanity's only hope lies with Porky Pig and Daffy Duck. Starring the classic animated Odd Couple, this sci-fi buddy action comedy turns Porky and Daffy into unlikely heroes when their antics at the local bubblegum factory uncovers a secret alien mind control plot. Against all odds, the two are determined to save their town and the world, that is, if they don't drive each other crazy in the process. So, Devon, what is your thought on all the news here for ACME Night?
You know, okay, here's the first thing that came up in my head. This makes me think of almost like the Disney's World of Color. You know, when Disney did like the TV shows or the movies just kind of on a special night and sort of represent Disney as a whole in a weird way. And that's sort of what this is making me think of. Or like with Cartoon Network, they had like Toonami, of course, for their anime stuff. And it's almost just something special that's unique and different for that time block. So like it's something to look forward to like on Sunday nights, because you know, first of all, Sunday nights are kind of perfect because these kids are getting ready to go back to school on Monday, and it's like, hey, Sunday night's kind of that nice time to sit down with your family, watch something nice, and go to bed, and then have to deal with school drama the next day. So I think that's kind of nice. It just makes me think of that. And some of the specials are different. Like, I could not take the Steve Urkel one seriously. I'm sorry. That one, I'm just like, why?
Do you used to watch Family Matters or something?
No, but here's the thing. When you read the title, my mind went in the wrong direction. and the synopsis didn't help. I was just too busy laughing.
Yeah, okay, maybe if it's like for Adult Swim, but this is Cartoon Network we're talking about here.
That's what kills me. I'm like, no, you called it. Did I do that to the holidays? Can't do that. You can't. Not take it. It's killing me. Oh no, I didn't watch Family Matters. I knew it existed, but I was too young, and I watched Full House more. I remember that Full House episode where Steve Urkel guest starred, but I didn't watch the show in general. I just was like, what the hell? But then again, my mom hated any weird, high-pitched voices, characters, kind of like the nanny and Family Matters. So I grew up with the nanny, but that's because I loved it. I watched it at a friend's house, loved it, and my parents were like, shut it off! Maybe that's where I got that weird hatred for certain high-pitched voices.
I mean, you're hanging out with me, so I mean, there. I mean, if you got a hatred for them, then like, what am I doing here?
Don't blame me, blame Morgan.
Yeah, that is true.
So don't put this all on me. That's not my fault.
Yeah.
We've been friends for too damn long.
Yeah, and one thing that I will say, though, I definitely do agree with you, is actually regarding the factor about TV blocks and stuff like that. It's funny because nowadays I feel like I'm starting to see TV blocks slowly but surely having a bit of a comeback, because especially in the age of streaming and stuff like that, especially like when Netflix was getting massively popular, and even before the streaming wars happened, there was a period where it felt like television blocks and stuff like that. I could be wrong, but I feel like TV blocks were like a thing of the past. Like they were only prominent back during the 90s and the early 2000s, and then suddenly they died out in popularity. But nowadays, we are seeing a bit more that are returning. Like even on ABC, Disney is actually bringing back The Wonderful World of Disney, where I think it's either on like Monday or Sunday or Saturday or something like that, where on one of the days, they are actually bringing it back just to show, Disney movies. Like I remember not long ago that I saw they were airing The Incredibles 2. So, it's nice to see that, actually make a comeback. And even in here, like technically this would, I wouldn't say fully the Warner Brothers version, but there is kind of it is mostly the Warner Brothers version of it. And like, I remember when Cartoon Network used to be like, that used to be their major thing. Like the most exciting part about the channel is when they would have their blocks, especially with stuff like Cartoon Fridays. They were major events every Friday on Cartoon Network, because that's when you would go see the new shows and especially like the new episodes of major favorites. So they were definitely a very exciting time. And I mean, not to mention the freaking Saturday morning cartoon blocks. Like you could
Saturday morning.
You could attest to this, Devon, but we pretty much grew up in the era when Saturday morning cartoon blocks were dominating television. Like there was no such thing as a channel that didn't have their own Saturday morning cartoon block. Okay, maybe some, but in terms of like the prominent mainstream ones, they all had a Saturday morning cartoon block where they would put in all their cartoons for the kids to go and check out. And that was something that as kids, we used to watch like religiously to catch up on like whatever new shows that may come out. So yeah, there was a period when these types of like channel blocks, they were very much prominent, but then they lost popularity so quickly afterwards, or maybe like it gradually died down mostly, but
it's more gradual.
Yeah, more gradual than anything. You're right. It just like casually disappeared as we grew up. It's like the less we noticed television and the more we got older, the more these specials eventually disappeared. But nowadays, however, I guess like maybe this is a response to the streaming wars and stuff like that, because of how things like Disney Plus and Netflix and HBO Max and Peacock, they're getting massively popular. Because of that, like cable channels need to go and think up of like new special ideas in order to bring audiences back so that they don't die out because of streaming. So that could also be an explanation to why they are bringing back these types of blocks. But for someone who did grow up in an era when television blocks were so prominent, it kind of makes me happy to see them return. Actually, it honestly makes me pretty excited to see that these things would actually come back, and they are treated as major television events, especially with what Cartoon Network is doing with ACME Nights over here, especially the fact that this does have that feeling that is a little bit similar to something like Cartoon Fridays, but they're mostly geared towards their already existing properties. Especially, well, nowadays Warner Brothers is really leaning heavily on trying to cash in on their old properties, especially with what we've recently seen with Space Jam: A New Legacy. But with this one, it really does feel like there is a special home for those properties on Cartoon Network now they can have like a moment to shine with ACME Night, where they would have like a movie, they would present like, you know, fun little specials with something like Batman or Steve Urkel or whatever. You know, it truly is like their time to shine during that block. So that's what honestly, I'm on board with this, and I really do like this idea. So yeah, ACME Night, it feels like a nice comeback to the old channel blocks. And who knows? Maybe it'll work out for Cartoon Network. Maybe it won't, but who knows?
I agree because I grew up also with the like the Saturday morning cartoons and Cartoon Fridays and like the one Disney Saturday morning. I grew up with a good chunk of that, and I think it's interesting because when I thought of the Saturday morning cartoons, I immediately thought of the Saberspark video where he did a whole video on the decline of why Saturday morning cartoons were just going downhill over time, and made me think of that, honestly, which is a very informative video if you want to check that out. But I think my favorite, I remember growing up in the late 2000s, they started gradually going away, and I'm like, we don't have cartoon like Saturday mornings anymore. We don't have like that special time for us to just go watch cartoons, even if it's Saturday morning or Friday night or whatever. But I think it's cool that Cartoon Network is doing their own version of this again, trying to just bring back the idea of sitting together as a family, just eating some popcorn and watching some cool Cartoon Network stuff. So I'm all for it. I think that's great. So I hope this turns out well, because that would be something to watch, like especially for people who don't want to pay like more than 20 to 30 bucks, give or take, on how many streaming services they actually bought. But if they still have cable, it's great. I'm like, yeah, turn it on a Sunday night. Let the kids watch their stuff on there on Cartoon Network. I think that's awesome.
So, with that said, just out of curiosity, would you have a personal favorite that you would be excited to watch amongst what's going to be coming soon for ACME Nights?
Probably not, because I'm not really into DC comic stuff. I'm really not into, I mean, maybe I would watch something like Scoob or something like that, but honestly, no, and that's just because that's not really my forte. It's not my cup of tea. I'm not really into the DC stuff, and I watched like Cartoon Network, but here's the thing for me, I was more of a Disney and Nickelodeon kid. So Cartoon Network, I liked it, don't get me wrong, and there were great shows that came out from that channel. I will say that for sure. But it wasn't for me. Like, it wasn't my channel. Like, if I heard like Disney or Nickelodeon was going to do something like this, I would be turning on the TV immediately. But as far as Cartoon Network, I'm excited for them. But I don't know if I'll personally watch it. I guess it just depends on what it is. I may check out the Steve Urkel one just out of pure curiosity. more than any. That one's more more morbid curiosity for me. The rest is going to be give or take.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if I don't know if there's a lot that I would say like, oh, I gotta watch this. I mean, there are a few that I would say like maybe I'm a little curious about. Yeah, some of the shows like they have announced like I am curious a lot for like Batman Cape Crusader, especially with the involvement of people like Bruce Timm, J.J. Abrams, and Matt Reeves. I guess like if I'm with my friends, then I would be curious to see what they got with the Harry Potter quiz show or the Wizarding World competition event.
Okay, maybe that one, maybe.
Yeah. Well, and then there's also like maybe Gendy Tartakovsky's Unicorn Warriors Eternal. It depends on like what people say about it. Like if the word of mouth is very positive, then I'll consider checking it out. But if there is one thing I would be excited the most, the one I would like to see would actually be the Looney Tunes cartoons movie, the one with Porky Pig and Daffy Duck trying to save the world from aliens. Because it's the Looney Tunes cartoons, and especially nowadays when those cartoons are actually doing so well and they are highly praised, and many people are even saying that those are causing right now the great comeback of the Looney Tunes we all know and love. Like seeing a feature length film of that, like especially with the duo of like Daffy Duck and Porky, and especially with how Daffy like he's reverted back to like his insane side, like literal like being his own namesake, like actually being Daffy. That I would honestly be down to go and check that out. But the others, I mean, like they are pretty interesting, but we will wait and see with what people say about them. At least that's how I feel about them.
Yeah. Basically the same. Like, okay, maybe the Wizarding World I'd watch, because I grew up with Harry Potter in my house. My mom and I watched every single movie in theaters, either the day of when it was in theaters or a couple of days later. My mom was that obsessed with Harry Potter. She read all the books. So I really liked her. I didn't love it as much as she did, but I always went with her because she was more excited than me, and it was just something we looked forward to when every movie came out. So,
all right.
Yeah, that one I would probably watch. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
All right, that's good. So, if you are excited to go and check out what this new block has to offer, then remember to go on Cartoon Network every Sunday at starting at 6 p.m. Eastern, and it shall begin on September 19th, again, with the first program to appear on ACME Night will be 2019's Shazam. So with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to go and ask you all, how do you feel about ACME Night? Are you guys excited about it? Are you guys a little iffy? And do you have a favorite that you are highly anticipated for to see on ACME Night? All right. Let's see what we got here. I kind of felt intrigued about this block. This is Cartoon Network's first new block in a long time. I may be going in to watch the new Looney Tunes movie with Daffy and Porky if it will come out on HBO Max. The details for ACME Night were pretty cool, especially with the movies and the new upcoming shows. Let's see if it does well when it comes out later this month. Also, have you heard that Steve Urkel made a guest appearance on one episode of Scooby-Doo and Guess Who? Urkel's personality was funny. Yeah, I've heard of it. Like I definitely heard that he made an appearance.
I don't remember that.
Well, no, it's one of the newer Scooby-Doo shows, and yeah, that's why. Like they would have like special guests. It's always like Scooby-Doo interacting with a special guest. So like they had Steve Urkel. I think they also had Weird Al. They would also have characters like Wonder Woman coming in. So it's kind of like a throwback of when Scooby-Doo would always have a special guest star.
Oh yeah. Okay, that makes more sense now. All right.
Mm-hmm. I haven't turned into Cartoon Network in a while, but it looks like it'll get me back into it. I'm mainly going to check it out for both the Steve Urkel movie, because he's a classic character, and the showing of Scoob, since the film is a bit of an inside joke amongst me and my group chat. So with that said, I capped this off by saying Simon Cowell was right. Oh, God. I think I know what he means. Like, I'm not even a part of his group chat, but even I know, like, the whole Simon Cowell thing in the movie. Did you even see Scoob?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, lucky you. My God. I mean, it's well animated, but the whole movie is crap.
I haven't seen it yet, no. I want to, I just haven't had the time.
All right, let's see what else we got. Merry Little Batman sounds cute. Did I do that to the holidays? Never got into Family Matters, so I'll pass on this. The Looney Tunes cartoons movie. So they're doing a fully animated Looney Tunes movie. What the heck took so long? Harry Potter quiz show sounds cool. Unicorns Warrior Eternals also sounds cool. Batman Capes Crusaders sounds interesting. Gremlin shows could be enjoyable. All right. Let's see what else. That's an interesting project, but I'm not fully interested in all of the facets on it. Also, Devon, based on what you said about growing up with Harry Potter, have you ever seen the recent trailer for the Minecraft map of the entire Harry Potter universe by the Flu Network?
No. And I was never into Minecraft, so I wouldn't have known about that, but actually I'll have to look into it.
Oh yeah, like you're certainly a Minecraft freak.
Yeah. I'm just like, what? I mean, again, my mom was more into Harry Potter than I was, but I like it, but that's just me. I'm like, never heard of it, but I would check it out.
All right, let's see what else we got. First Cartoonito and now Acme Night, only this time on cable. This could really be the one thing that can make the streaming wars a bit chill, since no one really does watch cable anymore. My best of luck to this program, and it gets people watching cable again. All right. I will only remember Jaleel Urkel White for voicing Sonic the Hedgehog in 2 different cartoon adaptations for TV. And by the way, don't even get me started with his appearance on that talking Urkel doll. All right. I'll read one more comment before we jump into the next story. Which one that I haven't read? Screw it, I'll go with you. Here's my what was I? Maybe something else? Okay, never mind. I'll just go with this one. Here's my reaction to these new shows on Acme Nights. Gremlins, The Secrets of Mogwai. Hey, Gizmo's back. Merry Little Batman sounds like a mixture of Batman and Home Alone. Unicorn Warriors Eternal looks good, but how good? Did I do that to the holidays? A Steve Urkel story does a Steve Urkel laugh, and a Looney Tunes cartoons movie as a fan, yes. And Harry Potter quiz show sounds cool. Those are the shows that I'm actually interested in watching. What's next? The Jetsons Next Gen. Yeah, that is true. I mean, like, eventually there has to be some kind of Jetsons reboot that's like in the works somehow.
Either Jetsons or the Flintstones. I mean, honestly, think about that. We haven't seen a Flintstones or Jetsons.
Actually, there are. For Flintstones, I know there is a couple. There's going to be a primetime show that's going to be from Elizabeth Banks that shows an adult Pebbles. And then there's another one, I just talked about it last week, called Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs. It has a very interesting, it has an interesting concept where it's basically kind of like one of those modern shows like Adventure Time or Gravity Falls, where it's Pebbles and Bam Bam going on dinosaur-like adventures. But the animation, oh my God, that animation was bad. Like, I'm sorry, but I'll show, after this, I'll show you I'll show you like the little trailer that I showed in my podcast last week, but oh my God, it looked awful.
All right, yeah, I'll have to check that. I didn't watch last week's podcast, so I wouldn't know.
All right, fair enough. But Moving on up to the next story, what we got here is actually a couple of trailers. And for the first one that we are going to be watching is going to be an upcoming Disney show. Devon, like nowadays, you still watch some Disney series, right? Or Disney animated series?
I have watched a little bit of like Star versus the Forces of Evil, and I have been meaning to check out like Amphibia and the Owl House. I have been wanting to see the Owl House for a while. Why I haven't watched it, I don't know.
I mean, I think it's on, isn't it on Disney Plus now, I believe?
It is. I just keep forgetting to, kind of turn. It's one of those, I've been wanting to watch it, but I keep forgetting or I don't have time because of work. But I have been wanting to see the Owl House for sure. So that one for sure is on the top of my list right now.
All right. Well, there is going to be a new one that shall be coming soon, and we shall see if this one shall also make it on your list. So, with that said, let's go ahead and check out the trailer for the upcoming Disney series, The Ghost and Molly McGee. Hold on, is it? Hello? Oh, there we go.
There was a young girl. She was a happy girl, but she had to move to a strange new town and go to a brand new school, make new friends, and then in the attic of her family's creepy new house, she found a ghost. And that ghost...
I curse you, Molly McGee! Wherever you go, whatever you do, I'll be there.
Fantastic performance.
Huh?
Is now her new best friend, Ghost Hog! I know, because that girl is me. I'm Molly, and this is Scratch, my new BFF. We're gonna make music videos together, become internet famous.
Why would we do that?
You know, that's friend stuff.
Be gone, human!
Did you just make me fly?
I didn't curse Molly McGee.
But there are strong...
She cursed me.
Navigating a new town can be a bit sticky. I think he really likes you guys. But with a ghost like Scratch by your side, it takes the pressure off a little bit. I, like to dance. He's got my back.
Is there a circus in town? Because there's a clown on the mound.
How dare you make fun of Molly McGee? That's my job.
And I've got his. Scratch! You can't eat those berries, they're poisonous!
You know I'm already dead, right?
Oh, right. We're friends, super naturally. Bye!
She bothers me.
The Ghost and Molly McGee!
Watch The Ghost and Molly McGee on Disney Channel.
So that is The Ghost and Molly McGee, which is going to be coming soon on the Disney Channel. So, Devon, what are your thoughts of The Ghost and Molly McGee?
So, you know what's funny? My favorite line, like when I watched it, I busted out laughing, was when the ghost is like, I didn't curse her, she cursed me. I was like dying laughing so hard. I'm like, that sounds about right. Like, I think it's going to be a cute idea of a best friend duo between a ghost and a little girl, and she sounds like one of those okay, kind of, I've thought of a little bit of myself, like a sassy little crazy lady that it's like, hey, let's go do best friend stuff. I don't care that you're a ghost. That's kind of why I was laughing so hard. I'm like, hey, look, I kind of thought of you as the ghost and I was the best friend. I'm like, screw this, forget it.
Yeah, even in this podcast, it's like I didn't curse Devon to be in this podcast. She cursed me.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Honestly, there's a lot of potential that I do see on it, but I will say in terms of the concept, it does look good, but not great, however. And the reason why I do say that is honestly because of the standard that Disney television animation has right now. Because I'll just say this. at the rate that Disney TV animation is going, it's phenomenal. Like, they're even responsible for some of the biggest and most popular, beloved animated series that's going on right now. Like, this is one of the very rare occasions where, like, not only is Disney on the same levels of, like, Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon, but they're even surpassing it. Like, just recently, they have been really making phenomenal shows, including Gravity Falls, The Owl House, Amphibia, Big City Green, and many, many more. And these are like major fan favorites where the fanfare behind them, they're almost on the same levels as the animated movies that they would go and produce. And not to mention that I recently did watch Rapunzel's Tangled Adventures, and that's also another major series that got a lot of love and has a massive fan base of its own. So yeah, like right now, what Disney is doing right now with their animated series, it's absolutely amazing. But with the Ghost and Molly McGee, however, I will say it's not a bad concept, but it does feel a little bit of a step down compared to what we do have right now with stuff like, with what they have presented with like Gravity Falls or with Amphibia or The Owl House, because it feels a little more simple. It's like, it's about the friendship between a little girl and a cynical ghost. And that's pretty much it. And yeah, there's a lot of materials that you can do, but it's nothing that it's nothing that feels like you would expect some kind of like epic adventure that would fully come out of it. So that's the one criticism that I would have from the series, is just it's not bad in itself. It's just compared to the other Disney Channel shows that they would have, where it feels like it kind of pales in comparison. But with that said, though, again, it really does look like a cute show, and there are some moments where, like, I did genuinely laugh a lot that I really enjoyed, especially from the responses of Scratch, who is the ghost in this case. And like, I remember there was a moment where, like, he got, like, in a baseball game, he got upset that a girl was mocking Molly McGee. It's like, hey, nobody should make fun of Molly McGee. That's my job. And also, one creative and fun yeah, a little bit.
Something you do if I was getting made fun of. It's like, hey, that's my job.
Probably I would. But also another one that I really did like is the when Scratch was eating all the poisonous berries, and like he was just responding to Molly. He's like, you know, I'm already dead, right? I could just eat this all. I could be fine, you know. Like, that part was actually cute. So overall, like I said before, even though compared to the other Disney Channel animated series that we had before, like, this doesn't seem as spectacular as we would have before, but it still looks like it could be a strong series. It looks like it still has a lot of pretty solid potential, and not to mention the animation is actually pretty good. Like, that's also another good trait to mention. Another thing that is worth mentioning is how the animation in that actually looks very smooth. It looks very solid. And that's another thing that is worth praising Disney television animation, is how a lot of their television animation stuff looks gorgeous, and they look very well made. Like, really taking what people would often refer to as like either digital 2D or the flash animation style, and really like boost it up to the point of actually feeling like genuine hand-drawn animation, like smooth 2D animation. And that's one thing that Disney has done extremely well with, not just like with the Ghost and Molly McGee, but also with Rapunzel's Tangled Adventures. It really does look that good. So that's another thing I really do like from it, is that this is also a very well animated series from what I'm seeing in the trailer.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the only thing I'm going to say as far as like the paling in comparison, I kind of agree. I haven't seen Owl House yet, or I want to, and I've only seen episodes of Gravity Falls, but maybe that's just because I haven't fully got absorbed into it yet. But I adore Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure. I remember the last time I came on this podcast and praised the hell out of it when I talked about Alan Menken. Do you remember that when we were talking about when he won his Epcot? I literally kind of
wait, you mean his EGOT?
Whatever.
What do you mean? What do you mean winning his Epcot? Does he get a Spaceship Earth trophy? Does he get like does he get an Oscar statue, but instead of a person, it's Figment?
Well, you know, to be fair, didn't Disney win that Oscar with the 7 little dwarves? I mean, it's not in the wrong concept.
Yeah, but it's not called a freaking Epcot. What is it? What are you gonna mispronounce the what? Are you gonna mispronounce like the Emmys as like the freaking as the Magic Kingdom Awards?
You know, to be fair, people make fun of you for some of your pronunciation of shit, so don't go be going after me.
Well, I mean, you got an Epcot. I mean, like that's like a big difference, though, and especially you're saying that to a major Disney fan like me. So of course I'm gonna frickin' notice.
I'm sorry, I was tired. I kind of forgot, all right?
Well, wake up! You're in a podcast! We got a show to do, Devon!
Whatever.
What were we talking about?
I was trying to talk about when I was praising Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure because of the songs.
Right.
I
That.
really highly praised the songs in the show. I was like, thank God you finally watched it. So that's really what I think it's cool that Disney is going to be doing this show. I mean, the concept, yeah, it sounds kind of like mediocre at best, but I think what I'm excited about this show, I'm always I like story-based narratives, but I like character-driven narratives more, because the story could be mediocre as shit, but if I care about the characters and how they react to each other, or how they react to the world around them, or what's going on, the story could be very mediocre at best. But if the characters really stand out, that's what's going to bring people back. And that's kind of the whole point. Like, even with Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure, even, the story is excellent. The story is absolutely excellent with that show. But it's the characters is the reason we come back. That's the whole, in my personal opinion, if you're going to do a great movie or TV show, you need to have fascinating characters, because that's the people you care about as you're watching the show or movie. You want to care about what's going on with their dilemmas, and you want to care about what they're doing. So to me, that's more why I'm excited. I could care less that the concept of the show is mediocre, but if the characters are really good, I might come back. So, and that's from the trailer. It sounds like these two are going to be the best of friends that are going to argue, but they're going to care about each other. And that,
Or
and
more
that's,
like a one-sided argument, technically.
Oh, so like our friendship.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's for you, by the way.
Oh, good thing the listeners who are listening to this only in audio won't know what's going on.
Well, the YouTube channel, when that comes up, that's going to be more funny for them, so.
All right, fine, fair enough.
Don't call me crazy, even though Epcot and EGOT, it's all just because of a stupid letter.
Well, that's two, technically. You added a letter, and you replaced a letter.
Whatever.
And I'm still going to call you crazy regardless. But what'd you say?
I'm just bringing my cat because she's annoying me.
Ah, you brought the
This is
kitty.
my cat, folks.
Oh my god, it said hi.
Yes.
Uh,
A little crazy lady, just like me.
No, but one thing I will say though is that I absolutely do agree with you, and yeah, like maybe I went a little heavy-handed with the whole concept thing, but it is true that execution is everything, and if this and like it does manage to promote well that what we are going to see, like the show is literally called The Ghost and Molly McGee, and that's who you want to see, the Ghost and Molly McGee. And they have done pretty solidly here where they do present the two personalities. And these are two very strong personalities, like the naively optimistic girl and like just this cynical ghost who's kind of like the straight man of this whole relationship. And even their dynamic, I will say, it's actually pretty fun and pretty cute, where like she got excited about the whole aspect of being best friends with this ghost, and like he's just like Scratch is just there being confused. It's like, we're gonna be singing songs, we're gonna be internet famous, and then like he's just standing there. It's like, why would we do that? We're doing it because that's what best friends do. So yeah, I do see like it really is all about the execution, and honestly, I feel like there is a pretty solid chance that this show is definitely going to pull it off, and that they will present Molly McGee and Scratch as like these very likable personalities, and I think that will play a big factor into the show of if it will like make or break it. So yeah, overall, honestly, like, yeah, I might have a bit of my criticisms and like it, but my criticisms for it, however, is only for first impressions. Other than that, though, it is a very promising show. The characters look very much likable. The animation is great, honestly. So I think it can do pretty well. I think this is something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, we'll have to see how well the show does, but if good characters will bring me back. I'm excited. I hope to watch this myself. So this will be fun. And especially when the show does like goes on Disney Channel, eventually goes on Disney Plus, I'll be all for it.
All right. So with that said, I'd like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about the Ghost and Molly McGee? Did you guys like the trailer? Are you guys excited to check it out? Are you guys a little more iffy about it? Let us know what you think. All right, let's see now. Looks like a cute show. For some reason, the concept makes me think of Grim and Evil or The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Oh, that is so true.
Oh, man.
I'll get back. I'll just finish the comment, but my God, Pixar Girl really brings up an amazing point. I'll definitely watch it on Disney Plus. I don't watch TV shows because, well, I'm more of a movie watcher. I hope Disney continues this streak of fun, charming animated series. This should be a fun comedy series akin to 90s and early 2000s cartoons. The Ghost is this generation's Grim Reaper with likable kid characters. I should be watching the other Disney animated series. But yeah, that is so true. It really does feel like Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
You know, now that I think about it, I actually see where they're coming from. Yes, because, yeah, the Grim Reaper is the cynical one, and then he has these two kids that just go, you know, this guy's with me now, and Mandy's, like, very dark and cynical versus Billy, who's kind of like, he's not very smart, but, you know, he's likable enough.
That is, like, the most subtle way of putting it, actually. Like, yeah, he's not so smart. Really? That's a freaking compliment compared to the real intelligence of Billy. I used to watch the show a lot, so I should know.
Yeah, I didn't watch it very much, but I did watch it. I think more for Mandy than for Billy. I always liked Mandy a lot more as a character. But maybe that's just the sassy, cynical person in me, so that makes sense. I liked her a lot more.
Nah, but yeah, the comment does bring up a very good point. This really does feel like the Disney version of The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. So yeah, they definitely nailed it on the head there.
Yeah, it could be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, definitely. If it's as fun as Billy and Mandy, then it'll be a solid hit for sure. Let's see. This may not seem as fantastic like The Owl House, Gravity Falls, or even Amphibia, but that could be since this is focused more on comedy rather than a story and characters. It does still look pretty good, though. I do really like the dynamic that we see between Molly and Scratch, and that there are plenty of fun moments. I'll probably watch it when it comes out. Also, my favorite line in this trailer is like, "How dare you make fun of Molly McGee? That's my job!"
Yeah.
All right, let's see. This show looks like it'll be a lot of fun. The animation looks cute. The humor is spot on. The main characters are likable so far. And Dana Snyder's performance as Scratch is very well done. Because anything that has Dana Snyder in it is guaranteed to get me invested. I'm looking forward to this show. I'll probably wait for it to come out on Disney Channel or on Disney Plus. All right, that's good. As a fan of shows like Phineas and Ferb and Gravity Falls, this feels like it'll be on the same ilk as the latter. I like the simple setting and plot, the animation's nice and fluid, especially on the two leads, and I know this isn't out yet, but Scratch is my favorite character. In short, I'm likely gonna check this out, but only if the writers get an Epcot out of it. Oops, I mean EGOT, sorry. Why are those keys always together?
That's gonna turn into a running joke. Damn it!
Oh yeah! Look what you've caused!
Oh well, I'll take full credit for that one. Good
Yeah,
job.
exactly. Might as well indulge on it. Alright, I have yet to see Amphibia or Owl House. I might see the former though. I dislike Star vs. the Forces of Evil. As for Molly McGee, it looks decent, but it looks very simple. The company that animated the series also animated Wander Over Yonder, which is underrated compared to how, in my opinion, how overrated Gravity Falls is. Molly could get better though. I'm excited for Marvel's Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. However, that looks great if you've seen the screenshots, but it'll come out in 2022. Alright. Let's see, we'll read one more comment before we jump into the next story. So, which one? I think I'll do this one. I'm not into Owl House or Amphibia, so I don't know if I'll be watching this since it seems to be in the same style as those shows. But one thing that I think is worth noting is that apparently this show will have LGBT themes on it, which was confirmed by the creator. Other than that, though, I'm not really interested in watching it. You know, honestly, that would be interesting to see how they'll incorporate the LGBT themes, because it, like, the television shows, I can guarantee you, they're nothing like how Disney's been handling them with the movies. It's not like every time there's a new gay character, they go and promote them as their first gay character in a movie or something like that. They've been like, even Disney has actually been doing a pretty decent job in terms of LGBTQ plus representation, in terms of like their animated shows, or as I have recently learned from my LGBTQ plus family members, like an easier term to go with is the alphabet mafia. Have you ever heard of the term?
I think I've heard it vaguely, but not very much. So
basically, if you feel confused with all the different letters in the community, you could just say the alphabet mafia, and you know where to go from there.
Okay, you know, that actually does make sense.
Yeah, and trust me, often they will be like, often with how they can be, they can feel like the mafia at times.
I'll just be like, just lead me in the right direction. I just don't know everything, so I'm just gonna call it the alphabet mafia, because that might actually be a lot easier.
Yeah, and even as I mentioned with my family members, like, the only thing that would make it better is if they can have like their own version or like their own remix of the Godfather theme. That would just be beautiful. Anytime they would, like, I'm sure for these for the community, they would love to just like enter a room and just have that play in the background.
Oh my god. Oh lord, I'm scared now.
The family make way, the alphabet mafia coming through.
Oh my god. I really am scared now.
All right, but anyways, with that said, let's go and jump onto our next story that we got here. And we got another trailer to go and check out. And Devon, I am just curious, have you seen any of the Croods movies?
No.
No. Well, that's actually going to be interesting then, because we might as well have some different perspectives as we check out the trailer for the upcoming animated series, The Croods Family Tree.
How many points for hitting a berry?
10 points. And if you hit Graham, it's 100.
Odds away!
Not even close. Is that all you got? I've been hit harder by rain.
That's a good one.
You've met the Croods. They've been called prehistoric.
I'm so hungry I could eat a pig gator.
Get him!
Then you've met the Bettermans. They're more evolved.
We have a system to run our farm. Don't touch it.
Now they're sharing one big house. And facing the future together.
I taught Sandy how to eat with a fork. Actually, she's using it as a weapon.
This is the good stuff!
Get ready for an all-new animated series. It's on. Based on the hit movie The Croods: A New Age. The future of fun.
Awesome!
Starts here.
Steady the mind like this. Not like
Just empty your mind and think of your happy place.
Friendship is like a flower. It's beautiful, but it needs time to grow.
Empty your mind!
The Croods Family Tree.
When you know caves as well as I do, they're not dangerous at all.
See? Safe as it gets.
So that is The Croods Family Tree, which is going to be coming out on Hulu and Peacock on September 23rd. So, Devon, as someone who has never seen the Croods movies, how do you feel about Family Tree?
I mean, I just never watched them more because I'm not as interested in these movies. And I mean, as far as DreamWorks, they do make pretty good shows from what I understand. I don't watch a lot of DreamWorks stuff, so this is probably not my biggest element. I watch more of their movies than their actual TV shows. So for me, I'm just kind of like, well, it's another DreamWorks TV show that's coming out, and for the Croods fans, I'm sure it's going to be a hit with them. As far as maybe the people who have not watched the movies or the people who just don't actively watch a lot of DreamWorks content, I don't know if they're gonna get nearly as invested in it. Because I think this is more gonna be a show basically for the fans, you know, the people who really liked these Croods movies already going in, because they're gonna know these characters already. They're gonna know what's the main what the main plot was for the second movie, which I understand is kind of where the TV show's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
That I get, but I'm like, well, I get it, but it's just not for me. I mean, unlike the Ghost and Molly McGee, where that's a completely new idea, new concept, and new characters, that's sort of easier for new people to get into versus something like the DreamWorks TV shows, where they're basically made for the fans of the content that the show's based off only, really. So that's more my personal opinion. I think it's gonna be fine. I think it's gonna be one of those. I don't know if I'd watch it. Maybe I would like it if I actually saw the movies. Just never saw them, and I think it'd be fine for them, really. I have nothing against the Croods. I don't hate them. I don't dislike them. I just know they exist, and I'm okay with that. It's just a show that exists. It's going to be for the fans, and let the fans have their fun.
Okay.
There are shows like that. You need to have shows for the fans only. That's kind of what it is. That's what DreamWorks is known for.
All right, fair enough. Honestly, okay, just to give out some context, yes, I have actually watched the Croods movies, and would it be not long? No, actually, yeah, it's been it's been several months since I have seen them, but technically, yeah, I did watch the first one, and I did watch the second one as well, primarily to make reviews out of them. And for me, they're honestly just okay. Honestly, they're not the worst DreamWorks films, but they're not the most memorable or even in the levels of actually good per se. They're very they're the kind of movies where the visuals and the animation are the most memorable parts of it. Those are actually really good, but it has nothing else really to offer. Everything else just feels unoriginal, it's unengaging, it's a little bit bland, and it's just it's just your typical, it's just the typical family-friendly film that it has some good marks on it, but it doesn't really get your interest that much. to really go and revisit it again and again and again. And that goes with both of them, whether it be the first one in 2013 or just recently with the Croods A New Age. So by watching this, it's actually very interesting. I'll start things off with the things that I do like about it. Like, number one, they pretty much nailed the look of the movies. It's like it's pretty much as if DreamWorks basically took the files that they got from A New Age and they just like paste it onto this series right over here. So which is great. So like you might as well take the aspects that people love about it and just put it on over there. So it does look very good. It does look, it still looks very detailed like it was before, like especially with the textures and the fur and stuff like that. So they managed to get that pretty well, looking exactly like how they did in the movies. Also, I'm pretty surprised about the voice cast here, mainly because of the fact that The Croods is one of those movies where it's basically an all-star cast filled with recognizable celebrities that have a very distinct voice, including Nicolas Cage, Ryan Reynolds, Cloris Leachman, Emma Stone, and each one of them in here actually did a pretty solid job. The only exception I would say is Phil, mainly because of the fact that he's supposed to be voiced by Peter Dinklage. And again, Peter Dinklage is one of those actors that has an extremely distinct voice. And when you do listen to him, just have a quick reverse. Like you just listen to him.
Don't touch it.
He doesn't really sound much like Peter Dinklage here. I know it's like you don't really get that much, but still though, it doesn't, I don't know, they probably could have gotten a better actor. They probably could have casted him better to get someone that does have that Peter Dinklage-like tone. But also, an interesting fact that is worth mentioning here also is that there is one person who is going to be coming back from the movies to reprise their role for the series, and that is actually Kelly Marie Tran, who is coming back as Dawn. You know Kelly Marie Tran, right, Devon?
I'm not familiar with a lot of celebrities, so
I know you like her. She is Rose from the Star Wars sequels, and she's Raya from Raya and the Last Dragon.
See, I wouldn't have known that. Here's the type of movie person I am. I am the type that will go watch movies. Will I know any of unless if it's a movie I absolutely adore. Like, I adore this movie. I want to know more information. I will know the background and all the profile facts, fun facts about it. That's why I'm like the queen of Aladdin here. I know everything about that movie. But if it's not a movie I absolutely adore, then I'm not gonna look into the background of who's voiced who, and that's the kind of moviegoer I am. So I'm like, did I know this movie director? Oh God, no. Unless if I happen to realize it or I just talk to people about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, who in the hell are you talking about half the time?
But yeah, Raya is going to be in this series, and I mean, she's a great actress. So and she even did a pretty, I even credit that she even did a pretty solid job in her role in Croods A New Age. So I'm sure she'll definitely be a strong point for this series as well. But there is one downside to it, and my biggest criticism that honestly, it's not just bad, but it's probably the one thing that would prevent me from watching it, is actually regarding the animation. Now, yes, I do credit that it does look like the movies, but when you put them in motion, when you do see this animation, yeah, it's not good. Oh boy, I understand that it is supposed to be a TV show. And generally, TV shows, you can't go in the same major budget like you would invest in a movie. But still, it's like, this isn't just a massive downgrade. This is wow, really just a nosedive of a downgrade in terms of that quality of the animation. It's just like, I honestly feel like it is massively jarring, jumping from the animation that you got from the movies to this. And especially from the fact that this is DreamWorks Animation. And generally with their TV shows, they usually do pretty well with their computer animation, especially like a great example is the Tales of Arcadia series. Like the animation there, I would say it's almost on par with the feature films that they would go and produce. They really do look that good. But then in here, you just see the animation. It's almost as if like the rendering was not even finished. In a sense, that's kind of the feeling that I would get in terms of like the animation that we got in the show. It's like there's something about it that is really holding back compared to what they did in the movies. Now, again, I do understand that it can't be like the movies, but there still has to be some kind of standard that they have to keep. And I felt like they really sacrificed a whole lot just for the sake of turning the Croods of New Age into a series. But that's at least in terms of the animation front. Did you get that sense, Devon?
Maybe because I really didn't watch the movies. In my mind, I thought it looked fine. I mean, it's not like Disney's had their own standards for years as far as their TV shows, and they really kind of go all on out. I mean, DreamWorks, like I said, I don't have enough background to be able to say or kind of go either way because I didn't really care about the DreamWorks shows, just on a personal level. So I'm kind of like, it looks fine. At best. I mean, I'm not going to say it's Disney. It's not like the 90s Disney shows where they look really bad or like the Disney sequels bad. So it's not that, at the very least. Just be thrilled. It's not like Aladdin or like some of the Disney sequels.
I see what you mean. Maybe it is just me, but still, it's just there's something about the animation that I feel like, oh boy, they really went down a notch with this one. But yeah, overall though, considering that one thing I do agree with you, Devon, is the fact that this does look like something that's just going to be made for the fans, and I think that's going to be the prime target audience here. It's going to be for those fans who really love the Croods of New Age, and for someone like me who doesn't, I think I'm going to sneeze soon. For God's sake, my nose itches, but wait. No, wait, is it? Nah, I think I lost it. Fudge. Okay. Anyways, as I was saying, even though it is a show that I do feel like, yeah, it's a show that is made for the fans, and considering that my feelings towards the movies, that I just find them okay and don't really find them all that memorable, it's like, honestly, I'm just gonna overall feel the same way as I did with the movies and just really give it a pass. I'm not gonna go, I'm not gonna be like too harsh on it. It doesn't look like something like I'm gonna hate or have strong emotions towards. It's just I'll just look at it and feel like, yeah, that's a thing, and just move on, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, I really could care less. I don't dislike these movies or anything of that sort. I'm like, this is going to be for the fans and the fans only. And there's shows for everybody for that. So, like, that's what DreamWorks is kind of known for, in my personal opinion. These TV shows, for the most part, are kind of catered to the fans of, like, okay, like the Kung Fu Panda series, the How to Train Your Dragon series, like those TV shows. Like, all that is kind of specifically for those fans in mind, and that's a good thing. I mean, there needs to be shows like that, or like more into diving more into the How to Train Your Dragon movies, and I respect that. I really do. Is it for me? No, and I think that's just because I don't dislike DreamWorks. I just there's certain movies I really love from DreamWorks, and there's certain movies I'm like, well, I like them. They exist, but they're not for me. I mean, I really like the How to Train Your Dragon movies, but I'm only just a casual fan. Like, I would easily go watch them if I'm with with friends, or if someone wanted to watch them. But like, yeah, let's watch them. No problem.
Mm-hmm.
But do I actively watch like a lot of DreamWorks movies from a lot? No. I'm more of a Disney girl, kind of always have been, so that's more me. than anything.
Yeah, I do get where you're going with that. And I mean, to its credit, to DreamWorks' credit, there are even some shows that I heard that they actually do a pretty solid job, even the ones that are actually based on popular some of their movies. Like I actually heard a lot of good stuff about the How to Train Your Dragon series. Like, even fans of the movies were able to really get on board with the TV show, and they say that the quality that was put onto that is not far off to the quality that's actually been put on the movies. So there is that. But overall though, yeah, I do personally feel like this, like, considering that DreamWorks more than any other studio nowadays is the one that's really leaning heavily on trying to market their movies by turning them into TV shows to further capitalize on them, to further make them grow as a franchise and stuff like that. Overall, it just feels like, for me at least, the Croods Family Tree is just another one of those shows that it really is just a product to go and expand the franchise. That really is it. And especially with the fact that technically this is the second Croods series. There was one from before that they did that was 2D called Dawn of the Croods, I believe. So this is, like, technically it's not necessary for us to have another Croods series, especially if it has to be like a sequel to the Croods: A New Age. So overall, I look at this and I feel like it's just, you know, like, it's not really for me. Like I don't really care much for the movies. Like, there are some things I do admire about it, and there are some things I do admire about the show, but, you know, if the fans are gonna like it, then good on them. But for me, yeah, I can't really imagine myself watching this anytime soon.
Agree with that.
All right, so with that said, let's go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you all, how do you feel about the trailer for the Croods Family Tree? If you are a fan of the Croods especially, are you guys interested in checking it out? Are you guys a little iffy on it? Let me know what you think on this. All right. Let's see. As someone who only watched the first Croods movie, my feeling for this is pretty it is kind of pretty, but that animation is just so cheap compared to the other DreamWorks shows that it would have really hindered any enjoyment I could have for this. Plus, the story doesn't really feel that engaging. I'll just skip this one. Let's see. I really enjoyed the first Croods movie, and I did enjoy the Croods too, but it was in a way. And I never really been interested in Dawn of the Croods that was on Netflix. So I feel the same with this show, where I mean, it looks fine, but I'm not really interested in watching it. The only franchises from DreamWorks I would stick with is Shrek, Kung Fu Panda, and How to Train Your Dragon. Not only that, the only DreamWorks movie that I really wanted to see turn into a franchise is Megamind. Yeah, that is true.
That is a good movie, actually.
Yeah, I really liked it too, actually. I even, like, as much of a Despicable Me fan as I am, like, even I admit that Megamind is actually a step up compared to the first Despicable Me film. But then again, considering that now DreamWorks is owned by Universal, I don't think they'll even shine much of a light on Megamind soon, considering that they would prefer to show off Gru. Let's see now. Much like Scoob, A New Age became an inside joke between me and my bros, particularly with, as I call him, Philip Monica Betterman III. And this trailer looks pretty solid. The animation isn't great, but the comedy is okay so far. The cast is pretty solid, and I'm just glad that Grug is as gruggy as ever, so I'll be sure to give this a little watch, mostly because of the Grug moments must flow. They must flow, I tells ya! Alright, that's cute. Let's see. As a fan of both Croods movies, I'm actually excited for this, since it looks a lot better than Dawn of the Croods, and this one is CG, which is a better fit to the Croods than the 2D style that was previously shown in the previous show. So I will definitely be checking this out. My one question, though, is who will be voicing Gran since Cloris Leachman passed away? Other than that, I can't wait to watch this. Well, like I said, other than Kelly Marie Tran as Dawn, every single person is going to be replaced by an impressionist or a sound-alike. So they already got that covered. I forgot who it is. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to go and look it up just quickly, because I know there was a list that I saw that actually did have that did say who's going to be voicing what. So just give me a quick second. I'll just have to find that article because it has been a little while since that thing was announced. Let's see. The pony. When did the Croods was man? Was that long? Wait, was it that long ago that they? Wait, hold on a sec. I went too far, probably. Sorry about this, folks. I just want to be sure. I just want to get my facts straight on it. So, okay. So probably a little. Yeah, it's much later than I thought. Then, hold on a sec. I'll get it soon. I'll get it soon.
It's gonna be 10 years later.
No! I found it. It's right here. It's right here. Let's see now. Just need to wait for this to load. I mean, my computer is like completely busy. I mean, I'm literally streaming, for God's sake. So, okay, yeah. So I got it right over here. So yeah, Kelly Marie Tran is back as Dawn. We got Amy Latiker playing as Uga. Kif Vanden Heuvel as Grug. Ali Dixon as Eep. AJ Locasio as Thunk. D. Bradley Baker as Sandy. Artemis, there's your answer. Artemis Pebdani from Big City Green will be Gran. Darren Brooks will be Guy. Matthew Watterson as Phil. And Amy Rossoff as Hope. So that should answer that question for you. All right, let's see what else we got. As someone who hasn't seen the Croods movies, this series doesn't really interest me. I also agree that the animation is a massive downgrade compared to the movies, and it just looks cheap. Personally, I prefer DreamWorks' original animated series than the ones based on their movies. Okay, I'll read one more comment before we go into the grand finale here. This was for the other story. This is just someone wanted to comment for Molly McGee. Sorry. Hold on a sec. Where would we have? Okay. I'll admit I really like the first Croods movie. I also love the second one. However, this trailer for the family tree is average at best. I didn't find myself laughing at this trailer as much as A New Age, and the animation can sometimes glitch, especially Guy when Grug tries to bash him with a bat. But the background and designs do stay true to the previous movies, and the look is well done. And the voice acting is still good as well. I'll watch it when I'll watch it out of curiosity when it comes out on Hulu. So yeah, there's not much negative comments per se, but generally, there are some that seem to be excited, especially for those who are fans of the movies. But more or less, it's just That's really what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's all. That's also how I describe the movie. So wouldn't be surprised if the show is the same thing.
Most likely.
And now, it is time that we shall go on to the grand finale, and we actually have a very special story. This is actually based on an article that came out last week, and it really had a lot of people talking. It's not necessarily animation related, but if you could probably see from my shirt, it's actually based on something else that I am very passionate about. So, with that said, let us go and talk about Frank Oz. Now, for those of you who don't know what happened, last week, The Guardian put out an interview with Frank Oz, which is done by Hadley Freeman. And they mostly talked about his career and his life, not only as a renowned director, but also as the legendary Muppeteer and second in command to Jim Henson, the man who has brought to life many beloved characters such as Miss Piggy, Fozzie Bear, Grover, Cookie Monster, Bert, and many, many, many more. And they went onto his career, onto his life, and pretty much showing this genuine and caring side to Frank Oz. However, what really got a lot of people talking is actually regarding his perspective of how Disney is currently handling the Muppets, with how they've been doing with the Muppets nowadays, especially now with what they have done with stuff like Muppets Now, or what's coming soon with Muppets Haunted Mansion. And, well, I think it is no secret that Frank Oz is not really a fan with the modern interpretation of the Muppets or how Disney is currently handling the Muppets. And I'm just going to read you that excerpt here from my source on The Guardian, which let me just find that place. Yeah, right over here. And one thing that is actually very interesting is that he brought up that a major reason why Jim Henson passed away was actually because of Disney, was because of the whole stress of the Disney deal. A deal in which Jim Henson himself, he's never really someone who would swear, but even he was known to call it the goddamn deal. So reading from my source here, it states, Henson died suddenly in 1990 from streptococcal toxic shock syndrome when he was only 53. I tell Oz I still find it shocking how quickly it happened. He stated, the Disney deal is probably what killed Jim. It made him sick. At the time of Henson's death, he was negotiating with Michael Eisner, the then head of Disney, about selling the Muppets. Eisner was trying to get Sesame Street 2, which Jim wouldn't allow. But Jim was not a dealer, he was an artist, and it was destroying him. It really was. And also, one thing, and probably the biggest thing that was highlighted directly from this article, was actually the fact about how Frank Oz feels about if he would want to come back as the classic characters that he played. Now, there was a long rumor that was going on regarding Frank Oz's sentiments about that, and for a while, people assumed that maybe he just didn't want to go back as like Fozzie, or as Miss Piggy, or as Grover, or as any of those characters because of how Jim Henson passed away and his resentment of Disney's handling with the characters. But as it turns out, that's not actually the case. To which it actually states here, Oz hadn't worked with the Muppets since 2007, and I assumed he retired. I assumed incorrectly. I'd love to do the Muppets again, but Disney doesn't want me, and Sesame Street hasn't asked me for 10 years. They don't want me because I won't follow orders, and I won't do the kind of Muppets they believe him, he says. He can't bear to watch the Muppets or Sesame Street today. The soul's not there. The soul is what makes things grow and be funny. But I miss them, and I love them. So that's the major thing with Frank Oz and this article. And Devon, I would like to know your thoughts on this matter. And how did you feel when you were reading this article?
I wasn't nearly as into the Muppets as like you and like Morgan, for example. So you two could easily compare and contrast the Muppet Show versus the newer incarnations super easily. And for me, I was like kind of that newbie that just sort of came in. I did not grow up with the Muppets actively. I was more of a Sesame Street girl, and I just think it's interesting that this really talks about, like, Frank Oz is like, Disney does things very differently than like what Jim Henson did. And that I understand completely. It's all a matter of creative differences. That's basically kind of how I see this in my personal opinion. It's more of a creative difference that Frank Oz doesn't want to do what Disney wants to do with the Muppets. And I get that. I mean, would I want to see him come back to do his characters? Absolutely. But if it's going to involve like arguing, resentment, and all kinds of just make it not fun anymore. That was the whole point. That's why he liked performing those characters. Jim was very kind of open, from what I understand. He was not the type to be close-minded on a performance. He wanted you to kind of experiment and figure it out. You're the one creating this character. It's not, Disney is kind of like, this is what I want, this is what you need to do, blah, 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 blah. And that's kind of how they always have been, at least nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
It's a huge give or take, honestly, because, and I understand, because Frank Oz was friends with Jim Henson for many, many years, until he passed away. And I felt bad for Jim when he just got too sick. And I honestly do understand completely why they felt that Jim died, because of the Disney deal. Too much stress, especially when you're sick, can kind of kill you in some, or not. Yeah, it could slowly kill you if you don't cure it soon, unfortunately. Or like my mother, who unfortunately passed away due to cancer. She also was dealing with not only this cancer, but she was dealing with a lot of stress. We were moving into a new house. We were dealing with all kinds of problems and so much family conflicts that it just, and COVID-19 certainly didn't help either. I honestly believe stress did play a role in slowly killing somebody like my mom or like Jim. And it's awful. So I guess for me, I'm like, I get where he's coming from, and I guess I fully respect Frank Oz for sticking to his opinion and being like, no, I'm not willing to do this unless if Disney's willing to give me the creative freedom that I had with the original characters in the first place. He's the one that created them. So that's just me, though.
No, I honestly see where you are going with it, and it definitely is true with some of the things that they do bring insight. And by the way, the chat wall is paying their respects to your mother, by the way. Just want to let you know on that.
Thank you.
But yes, anyways, going back into the argument with Frank Oz with this discussion, yeah, like one thing I will just make it clear right now, it would be a dream come true to see Frank Oz come back playing the classic characters, like playing as Miss Piggy and playing as Fozzie Bear. And, you know, kind of like how there's still a part of me that honestly would love to see Steve Whitmire come back as Kermit the Frog. But it is true that like creative differences can really play a significant role, and there definitely is a massive difference in between the management of how Jim Henson was handling his company and the Muppets, and how Disney is currently handling the Muppets right now. Which, like, let's be honest, like as much as I love Disney, the way that they're handling with the way they're handling the Muppets is often hit and miss. And I would love for one day to see like the grand comeback of the Muppets. And the closest that we've ever achieved that was the 2011 Muppets, and that was pretty much it. Like, and following from there is just like it's still a struggle to see things climb back up. And the only way for the only reason why the Muppets are still relevant is because of the huge fan base and the big love. Honestly, I'll just say right now, the social media account Muppet History has done way more of a job to make the Muppets marketable and to make them popular and relevant again, more so than Disney ever did throughout their lifetime. And it's very interesting when Frank Oz did mention about like the creative differences with Disney, and how he knows that they won't let him do what he wants. Because honestly, the one thing that it does remind me about, and I did send you that article today, like just to know what I'm talking about, is regarding the article back in November of 2020 called "Disney's Muppet Problem" from The Hollywood Reporter by Robert Semlin. And this one really goes in depth with the current problems and the boys club mentality that is within the Muppet Studios, and how Disney has been handling it, especially with how they've been trying to develop the Muppets Now series. And one thing that I found very interesting, or one of the most interesting aspects from this article that they did brought up, is regarding the rumors related to why Steve Whitmire had had to be fired from playing as Kermit the Frog. And for a while, the narrative that has been presented for several years was the fact that Steve Whitmire was a bit of an egomaniac, that apparently the fame of being Kermit the Frog really got into his head, and he was getting a little bit out of control, even to the point where it was too much for Brian Henson, so they had to ultimately let him go and kick him out of the Muppet Studios. But apparently, this article pretty much told a completely different story, where the reason why he was fired was not because he was selfish, but rather the opposite, that he was selfless, that Steve Whitmire was standing up to the rights of the other puppeteers, the ones that were getting a lot less pay than him, and demanded for more union rights for those puppeteers. But the problem is, Disney is very conservative when it comes to their perspective of unions. And when I say conservative, I mean that they hate them with a massive passion, and they only view them as evil communists, which is why they wanted to kick Steve Whitmire out and get him out of the picture, so that they would get someone who would be more willing to follow the rules instead of being all pro-union and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that that is actually the fact, but I will say that that narrative right over there is highly credible, especially with how Disney has been handling unions and trying to avoid them throughout their entire history, even nowadays. And I feel like it's a little bit of the same thing with Frank Oz over here. It's because they don't want him to be on board with the Muppets, not because they don't want to, but because with him on board, they would have, Disney would have a lot less creative control and even a little bit less business control, because Disney doesn't want the Jim Henson mentality to be back within the Muppet Studios, because they don't want a team of people that would be more pro-union, and they would have more control over the property, more so than Disney would want to have them to. So that's one major thing that I do want to highlight with this situation, is that I could see where there is some truth, and I could see where what Frank Oz is trying to say, where, yeah, it's exciting to hear that he would want to come back as Fozzie and Miss Piggy, but with the current situation, with how Disney is currently handling the Muppets right now, especially when they're trying to bring in like random special guest stars for Muppets Haunted Mansion and stuff like that, it's kind of like a situation where it feels very much iffy, and it feels like, yeah, it's not really going to happen, mainly because Disney is a massive obstacle to it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Especially, if you knew the history of Disney and unions, even Walt Disney himself was very anti-union. He did not want unions at all. So when all those animators were protesting about getting a union, Disney freaked out and was like, okay, and then he left for South America. So, I mean, honestly, that's kind of how I always saw that. It's like, animator strike, crap, there's something going on. Oh, I'll take the first opportunity to get the hell out. Go to South America and do that.
Yeah, and not to mention, just on a side note, it's very well known about Walt Disney's paranoia about communism. It was actually his lawyer during the strike that kind of planted that seed in his head to get that fear of communism. That's where it actually originated. It's not something that Walt himself made up. In a way, some people say that his lawyer kind of manipulated him into getting that anti-red mentality.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's crazy because that time frame was just a messed up time in general for America, as far as the anti-communism more came in the 50s than the actual 40s, but still, it's something that was there. It just didn't become prevalent until the 50s, really.
Yeah.
With the McCarthy era, and how movie stars had to go into court to say whether they were communist or not, and if they didn't say anything, they were blacklisted. And I'm like, oh my god. So it's awful. Just a simple, you could either tell misinformation, or you can manipulate somebody into believing something, and it is crazy. I mean, that did partly play a role. even today, not today so much, but it definitely escalated from something.
Mm-hmm.
Like over time, Disney kind of basically followed that same mentality with the anti-unions and.
Well, I mean, it's not just Disney. It's because of the capitalist system that most companies are highly against unions. Like even stuff like McDonald's or Amazon and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Disney is definitely guilty, but that's unfortunately kind of the common mentality that is amongst these giant corporations. They're all against unions.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, I agree with that. It's very, what's interesting is our past plays in a role of what's going to happen in the present. And when you don't know the information that happened, like, unfortunately, if you didn't know anything about Disney and his anti-communism, you wouldn't have known where Disney kind of got this mindset from of being anti-unions. I mean, that plays a role, but it's not 100% the reason. But it's there. And I like that both articles kind of demonstrate, they're talking about aspects from the past that led to what is going on right now. Like, of course, with Jim Henson passing away from the, strep throat or?
No, it wasn't strep throat. I survived that twice, so it ain't that one. It's like, hold on, just to go back into that article, it's something a little more complex than that.
Something, I just can't remember what it was.
Streptococcal toxic shock syndrome.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the term.
Okay. But I think in my mind, it's kind of one of those situations where everything led up to this point. It's kind of like the domino effect. Eventually, you're going to start from somewhere, and it's just going to go downhill.
Yeah,
and whether
of course.
you're willing to break that domino effect is, unfortunately, what Steve Whitmire and Frank Oz tried to do. Could they do it? No, and that's why they were fired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the opponent is, like, honestly, the opponent is just way too big. Like that's the whole thing. It really is a situation where, like, you can't just be like, yeah, one person can actually, yeah, like I know the term, like one person can make a difference, but in the case with Disney and when it comes to unions and stuff like that, that is a scenario where with Steve Whitmire and Frank Oz, like it would require literally the entire Walt Disney Company to strike against Disney, to call them out and demand for stuff like unions, or even for like the entire Jim Henson, like the entire Muppet Studios crew to have a strike so that they could demand unions. That would be the only way for Disney to really get their attention and to bring, to give better pay, to give equal rights to women, because that's also another thing that the Hollywood Reporter really got into, to really like fix a lot of these problems.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. And I always say the Disney as a company is very hard to kind of accept. I'm just saying as a company, not as their products, because you have to sort of separate the two.
Mm-hmm.
Like Disney Corporation versus Walt Disney Pictures, like their actual movies and their TV shows. And it's really hard for some people to do that. Like, you have to have that mentality. Can you separate the product from the creator, kind of thing? Can you separate the company from the product, kind of?
Well, it's separating the art from the artist, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. And that's, for some people, they can do that so easily because they just don't know. But for the people who do, it is kind of hard to separate the two sometimes. It really is. Mm-hmm. Especially with how complex Disney really has made their company over the years. And who, like I remember reading in that one article how they mentioned how the current CEO really likes Muppets more than the last one did.
Yeah, that Bob Chapek is more of a fan of the Muppets, more so than Bob Iger.
Yeah, that's what I was referencing. I wasn't good with names. I'm not messing that up. But yeah, so that's kind of my point. Like, throughout the history of the Muppets, ever since they got the deal, it depended on if they liked the Muppets or not, or if they cared enough about the Muppets. Disney owns so much crap right now. It's crazy. They own Marvel, they own the Muppets, they own their movies, they have now 20th Century Fox. There's so much shit. It's like, holy crap, how are you going to balance all of that? I mean, at least with Marvel, they got a universe movies down, and they have a system down for Marvel. Muppets are kind of just like the afterthought.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it's the afterthought, or like with their main movies, and like Disney has a system down when it's stuff they really want to focus on, and they know that. But if it's not on their immediate minds, it's not gonna be as nearly touched. So unfortunately, the Muppets kind of just got thrown into that same category.
Yeah, exactly. And even like, which is kind of weird that like you think that even though it's not necessarily as like profitable as either Star Wars or Marvel, you think that they would be more willing to experiment and see what they can do with it, like maybe give some creative control. But at the same time, Disney just seems so strict when it comes to the Muppets image that they can't really let anyone else touch them. That, you know, it pretty much puts the Muppets in a pretty tight situation.
Unfortunately, yeah. And I honestly kind of see it as that. It's that, unfortunately, the Disney company is not as, they're not as experimental with the Muppets, because they really fought for trying to get the Muppets in the first place. So they're kind of, it's, okay. You know what I see is, it's kind of like that, it's like that person that was going after you. It's like the pursuit of the chase. But once the chase is over, they're done.
Yeah.
It's sort of, unfortunately, it's that mindset with the Muppets. They had the chase, they were excited about it. Jim Henson was really kind of pushing against the Disney deal. But then once that Disney deal happened, when Jim Henson passed away, they got the chase. The chase is over. And now that they have it in their control, they're like, wait, what are we doing with it?
Well, not really, because here's what happened. The thing is that, yeah, they did that whole chase, and even after Jim Henson died, that chase went on, like, even for a long time. Like, after they did Muppets Christmas Carol, Muppet Treasure Island, then the Muppets tried to run away. They even tried to run away to Sony Pictures, and, well, that didn't necessarily work out that well. It wasn't until 2004 that they finally did get the Muppets. And 2004 is actually a very significant year, because you got to keep in mind, throughout that whole time, that was during the Michael Eisner era. And the Michael Eisner era was about to be done in 2005. And Michael Eisner is the one that really wanted to have the Muppets the most. So he finally got it, but it was at the end of the year. But then suddenly, that's when Bob Iger comes in as the new CEO, and he never really cared much about the Muppets in the first place. Yeah, from time to time, he would go and acknowledge them just a little bit with like little YouTube videos or a couple of movies like the 2011 Muppets and Muppets Most Wanted. But it's just that the chase is finally done, but now there's a new person that's in charge that doesn't really care about them in the first place. And I mean, it's hard to really determine how things are really going right now with Bob Chapek technically as the new CEO. And even though they are stating that he is a bit more optimistic with the Muppets, and we have seen more Muppet stuff happening in recent years, I'll give him credit that the Muppets did become a little bit more relevant with the Muppets because of stuff like Muppets Now, and we also got the Muppet Show on Disney Plus, and there's also going to be Muppets Haunted Mansion coming soon. But still, like, you do see, like, it's not really the case that it's because the chase is over. It's more the case that, like, the chase is over, but now there's a new person in charge that didn't care about that chase in the first place.
Okay, that's fair enough. That is actually fair enough. I didn't even think about that. Okay, you got a point there. So I get that. It's kind of like it's like that person that's so excited about something, and then they hand it off to the next person, and the next person's just like, what in the hell is this? I don't know what you're doing. So it's kind of like that, I guess. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And I call it bad timing.
Yeah, I think that really is what it is. It's just bad timing. Like, if Michael Eisner stayed as the CEO, maybe we could have seen a lot more stuff with the Muppets, but it's just Bob Iger was just not a fan of it. And that's pretty much what, like, ultimately boils down to, if we do go back to Frank Oz. It's just because of the current climate that Disney has pretty much established with the Muppets, and not just with Disney and the Muppets, but also like the new environment that's currently happening with Sesame Street, where they have also grown to have a completely different mindset and run things completely differently than the way things were with Jim Henson. Now that they are pretty much the most established and the most renowned children's program in history. That's where you would have Frank Oz, who technically he's one of the old guys, and as one of the old guys, he would have a hard time trying to go and adapt. Like, that's what, like, technically the only original person that they do have, or the only original prominent person that is still working with the Muppets, is technically Dave Goelz, who performs as Gonzo and plenty of other characters as well. But that's because he's willing to follow the rules. He's willing to follow Disney's rules, and that's why they kept him on board compared to someone like Steve Whitmire and Frank Oz.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, I mean, it's, everything boils down to something. Everything comes together in a certain way, shape, or form, and it's hard to sort of go one way or the other, I guess. Everything is coming together in a weird way.
Exactly. Yeah, so I think that's ultimately the big thing about this. Again, as much as I would love to see Frank Oz play his beloved characters again, even though we did get a little bit of a taste of that, I remember recently, I don't know if it was this year or last year, I remember seeing a podcast where they did have some of the like original Muppet performers, and Dave Goelz and Frank Oz was there as well. And there was a moment where they did some impromptu voice acting, and they were just playing as their characters, like Dave Goelz voicing Gonzo. And for the first time in like decades, we actually heard Frank Oz playing as Grover. And it was actually a very exciting moment, especially for Muppet fans.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was very cute. But yeah, it does ultimately come down to, as much as Frank Oz would love to see or would love to play the characters again, the current climate that Disney has established in the Muppet Studios and how they're running the Muppets, it just wouldn't allow him to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about the current situation with Frank Oz and his sentiments towards Disney? Are you guys more on the side of Frank Oz in this? Are you guys more on the side of Disney? Let me know what you all think about this whole situation. Oh, this is interesting. I'm going to go on a tangent to this story, but the main issue with American politics is that they're so imbued with right-leaning principles that anything that slightly goes west is immediately torpedoed by their lobbying powers. The sad part is, back in the early 1930s, Walt was good friends with a prominent Soviet director, Sergei Eisenstein, who did Ivan the Terrible and Que Viva Mexico, and nearly 20 years later was forced by his own government to evil spew any socialist principle. Yeah, that is sadly true, man. I definitely understand where Frank Oz is coming from. Considering how Disney has been taking the Muppets in a different direction, it does show how it looks like Disney almost doesn't treat the Muppets like other Disney properties. Also, especially with how the Muppets haven't been as relevant as they used to be. At most, the most relevant the Muppets have been was when Kermit the Frog made an appearance on The Masked Singer, but that's pretty much it. He's not wrong. He's not wrong about that. I can't say as much about this since I never grew up with the Muppets or Sesame Street, but hearing all this really feels disheartening and does make me dislike parts of the Disney company itself, where it is their possible part of killing Jim Henson or the treatment of those who worked on the Muppets. Even I am a bit worried about the future of the Muppets. Also, I'm honestly a bit surprised that you didn't talk about the upcoming 8-episode series Pokemon Evolutions. Well, I mean, I had a special guest star. There was also other stuff to talk about. I mean, you know, it's not an easy process doing this entire show and picking what stories to discuss. So I'm just laying it out there. Let's see. This news feels very depressing. The way Disney is handling the Muppets feels sad. Jim Henson dying of stress cancer of a stress cancer that came from the Disney and Muppets deal. It just feels wrong. And I feel the same way for this article on Frank Oz. Frank was a beloved actor who voiced many beloved puppets, Muppets such as Fozzie, Miss Piggy, Grover, and Yoda. I feel very bad for the Jim Henson Company, but I'm glad Frank Oz is starting to tell everyone about what Disney is doing for them and what's happening to Jim Henson. You know, one thing I'm actually really happy about is that Frank Oz is more open to his Muppet side. Like, there was a period where it really did feel like Frank Oz wanted nothing. He wanted nothing to do with the Muppets or Sesame Street or anything like that. But it's nice to see now that he is opening more about his Muppet side. So that's honestly one thing I do appreciate. Let's see. Do we have any other comments? Not that much. I think I'll read one more and then, do we even have one more?
I think that was it.
Yeah, is that, wait. Oh no, yeah, I think that is it actually. Yep, I think that should do it. So with that said, that will be it for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. So Devon, may I say thank you so much for joining me on this. This was a lot of fun. Oh my God, you really, like, honestly, I had my instinct that you might help me out to make an amazing episode, and you certainly did.
I know, I'm thrilled about that, and now I'll turn this into an Epcot about it, and not an EGOT.
Yes, you will. And with that said, folks, I would like to thank you all so much for watching, and thank you so much for listening as well. And tune in next time when we are going to see a lot more crazy stories and have a lot more interesting things to go and discuss about in this crazy world of animation, entertainment, and so much more. So with that said, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.
Bye, guys.